Around 460 million years ago, far before the dinosaurs, different life forms existed. There were peanuts, but unlike our current ones, they were sentient. Eventually, like any smart life form, they would start a civilization. That leads us to a farmer named Peanutia Evergreen. One day, he found a mysterious seed and planted it. That became the golden peanut. After admiring its beauty and vocalizing his thoughts after placing it around his neck, it glowed, giving him the first peanut seeds. He planted those and found that they were delicious. He decided to share his new joy with the people of his town, where the visiting head guard, Nutterus Emberforge, got a taste. This led to the king having a peanut from a nearby shop and dying of an allergic reaction while Peanutia was at his farm. The guard was branded a traitor and Peanutia was to be burned. Soldiers marched to his farm and lit it on fire. Peanutia saw this and had no choice but to run, and keep on running. Sadly, a few of the soldiers were able to catch up and surrounded him. When they asked him for his last words, Peanutia vocalized his wish to be able to protect his farm. Once again, reacting to his voice, the golden peanut glowed and shot out peanuts in all directions. Arrows were fired at him, but his skin, as hard as a peanut shell, protected him. He fired back with peanuts, knocking many of the soldiers out. He rolled away, like a peanut rolling off a plate, and fell unconscious. The ex-king's head guard, Nutterus, found Peanutia. He had tasted the peanuts and believed in their potential, so he decided to take Peanutia to a shack he had hidden in the woods. When Peanutia awoke, Nutterus explained the situation. They were now both wanted criminals. Knowing they couldn't stay for long, they cloaked themselves and set out for capital. While on their journey, they helped others, spread the joy of peanuts, and made many allies. The kingdom was ruled by a tyrant at the time, but after a bit of conflict, they managed to stop his reign and fix their reputation. Peanutia became king and Nutterus regained his spot as king's head guard. They all lived happily ever after, until a few years later in November. That was when the Holy Church would set out to obtain the golden peanut, even if it meant war. They elected to hire the notorious nutshell cracker, Armond Joy, to become the representative in spite of his reputation as an unconventional and ruthless hitman. They came up with a devious plan. The church had a gift of a giant wooden peanut for Peanutopia, and the guards accepted the gift, letting it inside the kingdom borders. The peanut shell busted open as if it were broken by a nutcracker, sending a flood of soldiers out of the Trojan peanut. They began their massacre of the nut people, the No Nut November. Hearing this, Peanutia decided to travel his land to see who could fight in the upcoming war. He gathered an army of 25,000. Then, they set up at the capital. The church's army approached and Peanutopia defended. A massive battle raged on for what felt like an eternity. Eventually, this led to one final showdown. Peanutia Evergreen versus Armond Joy. After a long battle, Armond was able to take the upper hand and the golden peanut. As Armond was admiring his new form and power, Peanutia was trying to think of a plan. Then, he dashed toward Armond while shouting out to the golden peanut. Peanutia was knocked away. This exchange repeated over and over. Armond was simply toying with the king, but Peanutia never gave up.
Your effort is futile.
His words were cut off by an off feeling. The golden peanut started shining. It resonated with Peanutia's soul.
Let's put an end to this conflict. Golden peanut!
Peanutia shouted, reaching for the peanut. He grasped it, still around Armond's neck.
I'm sorry, my friend.
With a noise similar to the cracking of a peanut shell, the peanut broke into pieces.
No! No! No!
Armond shouted in agony as his power began to fade. One of the pieces remained in Peanutia's hand, and it was a glowing peanut seed, just like the one he found on that fateful day. And it looked like Peanutia had something to say.
Armond, the reason you failed is because all you cared about was power. You don't have any faith in your people, and they don't have faith in you. You've busted many nuts throughout these battles, but this ends now.
He then unleashed his power upon Armond.
This massive load of overflowing power! It's too much for me to handle! How can one man have this much energy?
Armond screamed out. He was finished, and the war was over. Cheers erupted from soldiers celebrating their victory. Peanutia looked up to the sky, knowing that even though there was a lot of work to be done, he could live peacefully in this moment.